Hi friends, welcome to Cracku's video series. I'm Sayali. I'm one of the co-founders of Cracku and an alumna of IIMA Ahmedabad. A lot of people who take Cracku's course are curious of how exactly they should go about using it. This is one of the common questions we get because our course offers a lot of things. So there are the concept videos, there's the batch schedule that you have to follow, the concept test to take, the daily target, and the study room, and there are like a lot of things to do. You suddenly get access to like 1,000 different things, and a lot of people feel a bit firstly overwhelmed with the amount of content that they get access to, and secondly they don't know exactly how to go about it at times. So I'll actually take you through how to use the course in this particular video. Basically we offer a wide buffet of content because the needs of different students are different. For some students who are beginning their preparation, they'll need a certain set of things. For those who are repeating CAT, they'll need another set of things. For those who are already good at certain aspects, will need exposure to something else. So based on where you are, what your individual needs are, you can find and pick the right content to use or consume in Cracku. We offer a lot of content for making sure that everybody's needs are met. So I'll basically tell you, depending on where you are in your preparation, how to use Cracku's course. So firstly, I'll actually tell how exactly the differences are. How to use depends on whether you are a beginner. So if you're a beginner, this is your first year giving CAT, you have never prepared for CAT before. Even if this is your second year giving CAT, but in the first year you didn't give a serious attempt, in all those cases, basically you have to start from concept coverage. You do not know the syllabus well, you do not know the underlying base concept very well. So then your focus should be on concept coverage. Now, on the other hand, if you are a CAT repeater, you have given CAT 2 times or 3 times, okay? In that case, you already know the base concepts more or less. In that case, what you want is a quick revision. And once you have that quick revision, you want to go and solve more and more questions. So the needs of somebody who is beginning their preparation is different from somebody who is giving CAT for the second or third time. So you have to keep that in mind while using the course also. Another thing that it depends on is basically how much time you have available. If you have 2 hours available, we basically try to say that you should have at least 2 hours every day to prepare for CAT. And we give, whenever we give our batch schedule, we give with that in mind, that you have 2 hours available to prepare for CAT, and here is what you should do in those 2 hours. But suppose if you have 4 hours available every single day, then should you waste the other 2 hours? Definitely not. We give you enough resources to use those additional 2 hours as well. So basically, depending on how much time you have, there's a priority list of things that you should go through. So starting with your concepts, then your concept test, then your daily target, and then your study room. So basically, depending on how much time you have, if you have say a 2 hour so in those first 2 hours, you would mostly get through your batch schedule. So the batch tasks that you have to do. So at the topmost level of priority is your batch tasks and your daily target. Now suppose if you have more time available to you, the next 2 hours, what you should ideally do in the next 2 hours is have targeted study room practice. You should also solve previous year's papers. So basically previous year's CAT papers, and thirdly mocks. Mocks, I would say this is not part of this 2 hour, 4 hour schedule, because essentially mocks are something that you should keep for Sunday. So Sunday should be ideally all about mocks, either mocks in the format of previous year's papers taken as mocks or dash cats. So Sunday should be the day you should index in your mind for mocks. But your normal weekday schedule and Monday to Saturday schedule, if you have 2 hours, finish your batch tasks, finish your daily target, and if you have more than 2 hours, then go towards targeted practice using study room. So depends not only where you begin, but also how much time you have on your hands. If you have more time on your hands, if you feel that you have 4 hours on your hands, please make sure that you do more than just your batch tasks, always. If you have more time on your hands, if you are like, I'll give as much time possible to crack CAT, then you have to go beyond batch tasks to study room practice. Now, the third thing that you should also focus on is how quickly you pick it up. So how quickly you pick it up means that everyone has their individual strengths and weaknesses. For example, some students are good at quant, some people are weak in verbal. On the other hand, there will be some who would be having the exact opposite problem. Somebody who will be very good at verbal, but if they are not from an engineering background, they would be very insecure about their quant and DILR section as such. So So depending on what your individual strengths and weaknesses are, your section-wise strategy would also be different. So for example, if you are not very sure about your quant or your DILR, but you're fairly confident about your VA section as such, what I would suggest in that case is that spend a lot of time on concepts, concept coverage, concept tests for the sections that you're weak on. And for the VA section, you should do the batch tasks, but the practice should be one of the key aspects of sections you're comfortable with. So essentially, even in the time duration that you have, okay, if you have 2 hours as such, whenever you realize that, okay, there is a section that I'm actually poorer at, that I'm weaker at, try to spend more time in that section. So basically, you should be working on the weaknesses more than just doing things that you like doing because they are your strengths. So whenever you have your batch tasks and your daily target, so the first priority should be given to your batch tasks of weaknesses. Then your batch tasks of, then your daily target of your weak areas. Then batch tasks of your strong areas. And then finally, daily target of your strong areas. In case you haven't actually gone through our course, I'll just outline you the main forms of content that we give. So you have your batch tasks, which are made up of concept videos. And each concept video is given with a concept test, which is a 5-question test. And generally it will give you 15 minutes to solve 5 questions. So these batch tasks, concept videos plus concept tests are always at the highest priority level. This is in case you're a beginner, if your concept coverage is not great. Even if you're at a repeater level, what I suggest doing with the concepts and concept tests is that it is important for you to revise those concepts again, even if you're giving CAT for the second or third time. So what you should do is basically go through the basic, the first 10-15 minutes of your video where I'm explaining the base concept, I'm explaining the formulas. You should first go through that. And afterwards, when I start solving questions, what you should do is, instead of watching me solve that question, you should try to solve that question yourself. So that would actually save you on time and it will quickly revise that concept. And in general, whenever we have a concept test, so for example, if this is a concept video, we give these questions below that. So whatever questions I am going to solve, you can actually see below that concept video as such. So you can say that, okay, let me test, do I need to see this video or not? Because if I am able to solve all of these concept questions by without seeing the answer, without seeing the explanation, then I understand the concept, I know the concept, I can skip ahead. So essentially in that case, if you are somebody who already knows most of the concepts, then you can skip ahead by doing these things. So you will revise the concept and then you focus on practice more than just passively watching me solve as such. For somebody who is doing CAT for the first time, watching somebody solve or watching me solve would be important part of their learning process. But if you already have a fair idea of the formulas, etc., I want you to take the initiative to solve it yourself rather than waiting for me to solve. Okay, so these are the batch tasks and batch concepts. They are very, very important. You should always complete them and you should stay on top of them. A lot of people tend to, for example, if they have exams come up or if they have some projects that are due, what happens is that they get a backlog of tasks that are not done. So whenever you start seeing a backlog of tasks that are not done, sit on Saturdays and finish that backlog. Saturdays are generally not, you don't have any additional batch tasks to do on Saturdays. So sit on Saturdays and make sure you remove all of that backlog. So this is the first part, which is the concept test. Apart from that, we also give daily targets. Daily targets are basically 3 5-question tests, 5 questions on quant, 1 5-question RC and 5 or 4 question RC and 1 DILR set, which is 4 or 5 questions or 6 questions as such. So essentially 1 DILR, DI or LR set, 1 RC and you have 5-question quant question test. So basically it is a daily practice of quant, verbal, that is RC. Either it will be an RC or you will have 5 VA questions like para summary questions or para jumble questions and 1 DI or LR. So what exactly are we doing through the daily targets? We are giving you daily practice. So every single day you will be solving 1 DI set or LR set. That is daily practice that will take you far. And even in the daily target, we try to have a wide range of coverage. So one day you will have an arithmetic test, then you will have algebra test, then you will have geometry test. So there won't be a lot of repetition, and we'll have different types of RCs. You will have sometimes you will have philosophical RCs, then sometimes you will have scientific RCs, then informative RCs. So we give you a wide range of practice. This is daily target. The third thing is our study room, which is basically the question bank. It has over 16,000 questions, I think. And the question bank is extensive. There are like thousands and thousands of sets. You will have like 800, 900 RCs. There are like thousands of questions. The whole point of daily target is that instead of handling study room on its own, which can be overwhelming, we make it into a smaller task. We give you one RC set to do, one LR set, DI set to do, and one 5-question test to do. So that basically means that you don't have to think, what should I do today? What should I practice today? But in many cases, some students are weak in some topics. So what we want you to do is, you want you to have access to all of them. Learn the concepts, have a daily practice, daily schedule of practice, daily schedule of learning, daily schedule of practice, and a study room so that you can go back and have targeted practice. So say you are not very good at particular topics, so you are not good at geometry, then you can go to geometry and solve more questions from geometry. So basically all these three things are given so that depending on your individual needs, you will have a daily schedule to follow, a daily list of things to do, but you can also do extra based on your individual needs. So that is the things that you have to remember. So now what I want to say is that based on how quickly you can pick up certain things, you can actually skip ahead. So if you're seeing verbal and you're very good at verbal and you know the concepts very well, what you should try to do is, okay, I've understood and seen the first few minutes where I'm explaining the concept. Let me skip ahead and see the questions. If you're able to solve the questions without waiting for my explanation, then you can skip ahead. Save time by doing that. So when you have more time saved by doing that, you can spend that time on the areas that you are actually weak at. So then you can save that time and go and practice some questions from geometry. So that is ideally how we want you to use this course to fit your individual needs. Try to stick to the daily schedule as much as possible so that the daily schedule simplifies the tasks for you. So even if you feel that I'm good at verbal, I don't need to see this, still I would suggest that revise using those concept videos so that you do not completely forget a particular part of your CAT syllabus. But then you should think that, okay, I'm strong in this, let me skip ahead, let me take a look at the questions, let me go through this quickly so that I can save time here and I can spend time on something that I'm actually weaker at. Okay, now let's come to the specific way or order of doing things for somebody who is a beginner versus somebody who is repeating CAT. I would consider somebody who has not really seriously prepared for CAT also as a beginner, because essentially even though you've given CAT once, if you have not prepared for it or if you have spent less than 1 month preparing for it, then you are, I would suggest that you are still in the beginner stage as such. See, when you're a beginner, you're seeing CAT for the first time, you have to have a good understanding of the CAT syllabus and the CAT concepts that are there. The CAT syllabus is not huge, and maybe, as you know, it is based on like 10th standard maths, 10th standard verbal ability and RC, reading comprehension, and basic logical reasoning that even a 10th standard student would be able to solve as such. So it's not extensive, it is not technical, it is not that you have to remember a lot of formulas, there's nothing really to mug up. But there are a lot of concepts and things to know, and there are things that you learn about questions or how to solve questions through experience. So all of that we have distilled into our concept videos. The concept videos not only cover the formulae and theorems and concepts, so you have that for like quantitative aptitude, you have all of that videos as that. But apart from that, we also have tips and tricks on how to solve questions. This is especially true for verbal ability and reading comprehension and DILR, where there is no one set method or one set formula that you need to know. So the concept videos not only represent the syllabus or the concepts that you have to learn, but also the experience that you get from solving for many years. We have solved CAT and we have prepared for CAT for many years. So we have idea of how to approach questions also. So based on that, we have given approaching questions, different types of questions, how to approach certain types of RCs, how to approach certain types of DILR sets. So it's a distillation of not only the conceptual knowledge, but also our experience. So this is basically a way in which you can look into the entire CAT syllabus and understand the psychology or the way you should actually go about preparing and how to actually prepare for the questions that are going to come in CAT. Conceptual knowledge is one thing, but knowing how to actually approach the questions, knowing how to look at questions, how to look at RC sets, how to look at DILR sets, that generally comes with experience. But I don't want you to give 2 or 3 CATs to get that experience. I want to give my experience of how to solve to you through these videos. So do check out the videos, whether you have seen the concepts or you have seen the formulas. It's more than just the concepts, it's more than just the formulas. How to approach questions and how to solve is also about the experience of solving many questions of that type, and many questions in the exam format also. So the initial focus should always be on concept coverage. So what should you actually work on? See, your batch tasks give you first your concept tests, your concept videos. Your concept videos are extremely important. Again, whether you're a beginner or a CAT repeater, whenever you see a question being solved in a concept video, I want you to actually pause that question, and I want you to try that question at least before you see me solve it. See, basically there'll be 5 questions solved in the concept video, and then there'll be a concept test with 5 questions. Sometimes 5 questions or 7 questions. A lot of questions are solved in the concept videos as such, and then there'll be a 5-question concept test. So what I want you to do is, when you are seeing the concept video also, pause and try to solve the question on your own. Then whenever you come across an obstacle, okay, I don't know how to proceed further, then you can unpause, see me solve it and learn, okay, this is how you actually move further. That is how you learn. I want you to learn how to solve yourself. The ideal goal is that it should become instinctive. So when you see a time and work question, you know immediately, okay, if A does twice as much work as B, then let's say A's efficiency is 2x and B's efficiency is x. I don't need to think about it because I have solved so many questions of that type. But initially when you are beginning, it won't be instinctive for you. So you need to first try to solve yourself and then see me solve, so that you can understand, okay, this is how you actually become better at it, how you can solve quickly, how you actually represent the information. That kind of learning requires you to actively participate in solving. Without you actively participating in that concept video, it will be mostly just passive transfer which won't stick. If the knowledge transfer between me to you has to stick, you have to try to solve the question along with me in the concept video. Definitely in the concept test you are on your own and you have to solve the concept test on your own. But even before that, you should try to solve the questions in the concept video with me. These are the most important things that you have to do for your preparation. Focused on your concept coverage. CAT syllabus is not difficult, but it is vast. There are a lot of things to remember, a lot of things to know. And if you have no previous practice, it can be overwhelming. So basically we have tried to cut it down into small bite-sized pieces. So every day you will get a batch task. Finish that batch task on time, and then you will not feel overwhelmed. So you won't feel that, oh my god, there are so many things to learn. Many times when people start their CAT preparation, they see that, okay, there is like there are 200 videos and they are each 40 minutes long. How am I supposed to do that? So you don't need to look at all 200 videos. You just need to look at the videos that are given to you for that day. So that is all you need to look at really. So just focus on concept coverage, concept tests. You should have 100% completion of concept videos and concept tests. Now once you have done that, you should try the daily target. Initially, when you try the daily target, if you're a beginner, you will find that you will not know the base concepts and you will not be able to do the daily target, which is fine. So initially, if you're feeling underconfident about solving the daily target because you're a CAT beginner, that is fine. What I would suggest is that instead of going towards daily target, go to study room and try to practice questions from the study room from the topics that are covered for you. So basically, if you're starting your CAT study and suppose arithmetic is covered first. So if arithmetic is covered for you, you can start practicing questions from the study room for arithmetic. If you try to see the daily target for algebra or geometry, since those concepts are not covered for you, you might find them very difficult as such. So what I would suggest initially, because you're starting off your preparation, focus on concept videos, concept tests, and as your preparation advances, as you get more experience, there will be more daily targets that you can solve and there will be more parts of the study room that you can solve. So initially, if you consider this is your start, this is your end, Initially, the focus will be on conceptual learning. Then practice will be a small part of it. But as you move towards the end, most of your work or most of the time that you spend should be on practice. So as your concepts get covered, you have to make that shift, okay? You have to make the shift between just passively seeing the concepts to actually going towards daily targets and study room. So concepts and batch tasks are conceptual learning. Daily target and study room are practice, and you have to make the shift midway between spending time between conceptual learning and batch tasks and daily target and study room. Those who already have a good conceptual learning can start with the daily target initially also from the very first day. But if you are looking at CAT for the first time, initially you will find daily target difficult to do. Initially you will not be able to solve many questions from the study room. But after some point, basically halfway through your CAT course, most of the important topics will be done. Initially only we finish arithmetic. At the very start we finish geometry. At the very start we start tackling RCs. At the very start we start tackling DILR arrangements and the bigger, most commonly used asked forms of DILR as such. So basically CAT syllabus has a long tail. So you have like say arithmetic, geometry, which is like 70% of the syllabus. Similarly, reading comprehension, para-jumbles would be like the most biggest chunk of the syllabus. And then if you consider quant, there will be certain things which will be asked once in a while. Logarithm, one question from logarithms, one question from number systems, one question from probability combinatorics. So basically what happens is that in the initial few days, the first month of your preparation, we'll finish most of the 70% of the syllabus as such. And because there is this long tail of smaller parts that one question comes from, that would mean that your syllabus continues till October, November, but that is essentially like the last 20% of your syllabus. So the first month or the first half of your course, you are going to finish 70-80% of the syllabus, which means that in the midway, you would have covered most of the CAT syllabus. At that point of time, you have to actively make the shift between covering more conceptual knowledge, because at that point of time, the batch tasks or the concept videos we are giving you, they are also important. Like logarithm questions come, combinatorics questions come, but one question comes. At that point of time, you have to make the shift from just studying and conceptual learning to practice. At that point of time, it is very important that you start along with those concept videos, that you start practicing solving questions from arithmetic, algebra and geometry. Similarly, with VARC section, we'll give you an introduction to reading comprehensions, how to solve reading comprehensions. We'll give you an introduction to para-jumbles and para-summary. And then further down the course, we'll start looking more specific parts of reading comprehension. That is how to solve informative RCs, how to solve scientific RCs, how to answer, what tools you should use for solving para-jumbles, how to look at OOC para-jumbles. So we'll get into the finer details, but you don't know those, you don't need those videos to solve most of the questions that actually come in VARC section. So even the initial knowledge would help you to start tackling the VARC section as such. So always remember, even if your course is not completed, midway through the course, you will have sufficient knowledge to tackle 80% of the actual CAT paper or CAT syllabus that comes. So at that point of time, I want you to really amp up on practice. So start taking daily targets then, start taking the study room test then. Okay. Now for CAT repeaters, I'll come for beginners and repeaters. I'll come to the mock strategy at the end. But for repeaters, I'd like to say, so for CAT repeaters, what should you do? See, remember, if you already have a basic idea of conceptual knowledge, if you have studied for CAT before, from the very first day, I want you to start taking daily target. I don't want you to shift midway between conceptual learning and practice. From the very first day, you should be doing daily targets. And when you're doing batch tasks also, I want you to do both batch tasks and daily target every single day. But when you're doing batch tasks, remember that I expect you to not passively see the video, but actively solve each question. So basically start the video. The first 40% of the video will be conceptual learning. After that, I'm mostly just explaining the questions. At that point of time, just pause the video and start answering the questions yourself. If you have understood the concept well, you should be able to solve those questions fairly easily. So that is what I want you to do. See the batch tasks and go quickly through the batch tasks. So even if this video is of 50 minutes, only the first 15 to 20 minutes would be actually explanation of the concept. After that, there will be question solving, which I want you to do on your own. And what that would basically mean is that this 50-minute video you can get through in less than 30 minutes. And that extra time that you save in the solving the batch tasks, I want you to put in solving DTs. DTs have to be done from the very first day, and study room goals. So study room goals, basically from the very first day, you should start targeting that section that you did not perform in. Most people who did not perform in CAT would have a 1 week section that they really messed up. For some it is DILR section, for some it is quant section, for some it is VARC section. So what I want you to do is use that experience as a lesson in self-awareness. Now you should be aware that this is one section that I should target. I should make sure that I do not do poorly in it. So basically whatever time you save by quickly doing batch tasks and daily target, you should then put it into the study room where you should start targeting that one section. So basically, if you have not done well in DILR section, I want you to go to the study room and start practicing an extra DILR set. Apart from the daily target set, you should start practicing extra DILR sets every single day. So basically what you are doing is that you have identified a shortcoming and you are going to do whatever you can to make sure that that shortcoming is a strength at the end of by CAT day, that shortcoming is now a strength. So just basically focus on take your CAT attempt as a lesson. You should identify, okay, in my CAT attempt I was not able, in quant section I was not able to solve this. In DILR section I found these type of sets difficult. In VARC sections I made these kind of errors. I was not able to solve these kind of questions. So you identify your starting point, your weaknesses, and do targeted practice from the study room. Remember, as I said, for the CAT beginners, it is mostly 80% learning, conceptual learning, and 20% practice, or 90% conceptual learning and 10% practice. For you, it is never like this. For you, the conceptual learning will start at only 50%, and from the very beginning, it should be 50% to 100% of practice. So you have conceptual learning here, which is like at 50%, half the time you have doing conceptual learning, and that will slowly become to like less than 5%. Like conceptual learning, the time you spend on learning new concepts will keep on decreasing, and 50% time should begin for practice, and that practice should essentially be completely taking over by the end of it. But remember, unlike the beginners where you have mostly they start off with a lot of conceptual learning, lot of conceptual videos, for you, if you already have that conceptual knowledge, you should just be focused on practice, just completely focus on solving. Remember, when I gave CAT twice, and I remember the difference between both CAT attempts very distinctly. The first time I gave CAT, the first year I gave CAT. Just before the CAT, I actually spent a lot of time revising formulas and just seeing books and seeing formulas, etc. I didn't do any of that in the second attempt. I knew all the formulas. I also knew that when I went into the CAT exam, I was very underconfident. I was not in the exam solving mode. What I did in the second attempt, just before I went into, just before the CAT as such, what I did was that I used to lock myself in the room and just solve for hours. Basically, whatever material I had, I just kept solving. So I solved through entire books, all previous year's papers. I solved through like literally hundreds and hundreds of sets of DILR, thousands of quant questions. I just became like this solving machine. And when I did that, what happened is that carried over on to CAT day, because I was in the mode of solving. I was like completely switched on when it comes to solving. Otherwise, what happens is that it takes some time for you to get into that warmed up to solve. You get into this mode where you are like, okay, thinking, oh, how do I approach this? How do I get? By the time you are warmed up enough to solve, the section is over, because this is just a 40-minute section. So which means that you should be already warmed up to solve before you come to CAT. And that will only happen if you just completely focus on practice before CAT day. You should be completely switched on. You should be in the question solving mode, which means that practice should be like 100% practice mode before CAT. So in the last 2 weeks of CAT, you should just be solving thousands of questions. Your conceptual coverage should be done much earlier, and you should just be in complete practice mode before CAT day. As I said, you should have targeted study room attempts. Basically, whatever weaknesses that you identified, you should basically just focus on solving those questions, solving those areas as such. Also, take sectionals. If you have scored poorly in one particular section, between every single dash cat attempt, take a sectional from that particular section. If you did poorly in VARC, so between DC1, DC2, DC3, you will have these weekends where you don't have anything. In that, I want you to take a sectional from that particular section. Okay, now going on to mocks. So one thing that I request every one of you is please try to stick to the mock schedule. I know a lot of students who say that, okay, this is like the mocks are starting in April. There's one mock in April, there's one mock in May, there's one mock in, I think, June. There are two or three mocks in June. Then July, August, September, there are many mocks. Okay, from September to October, there are many mocks. So a lot of people are either say that I'll start taking mocks from June. Some say that they'll start taking mocks from September. Once all the concept coverage is done, once their course coverage is done, then I'll start taking mocks. The point of the mock is not that you get a high score, okay? That is what we have been led to believe, that each unit test is important, each small exam is important. You should score as highly in the exam as possible, and you should not take the exam before you're prepared. This is not a school exam. This is not like that. A mock is basically a test of where you are. You can almost think of it as a test like a blood sugar test or a BP test. It tells you where your current condition is. It is not that you have to get a high score on this. What you get on your mock doesn't really matter. Ultimately, what you get on CAT day is all that matters. On the actual CAT exam, what you get, that is all that matters. It doesn't matter what you get in mocks. This is not going to be a unit test that is going to carry over into your final marks, right? So this doesn't really matter. But why should you start taking mocks in April, and why should you take mocks in May, and why should you take mocks in June? Because they give you a point of reference that, okay, in April I was at this point of this, my attempt rate was this, my accuracy was this. In every section you know what your attempt rate is and what your accuracy is. Then you can say that when I took the mock in May, I see a jump up. I see that my attempt rate has improved, my accuracy has improved. When I took the mocks in June, I see that my attempt rate has not really improved, but my accuracy has improved. So this gives you an idea of how you're progressing, and it is very important information to have. Early on, if you have information of how you're preparing, how well you're doing in mocks, from early on, you know what the problem areas are going to be. You don't want to suddenly realize that you're bad at DILR in October. That would be a catastrophic scenario. So what should you do? You should start with taking mocks from now on. So whatever are going to be your problem areas, you know now. You don't want to find out issues, or you don't want to find out problems in October and November. Then there'll be like absolutely no time to fix them. You should start off now so that you know that, okay, I'm struggling in this particular topic. I'm struggling in that particular topic, so that you can spend time now on correcting it. So basically remember that you try to stick to the mock schedule as much as possible, so that you get like regular feedback as to how your preparation is going. This is essentially a feedback. This is like the weighing machine which tells you, okay, now that you are doing this diet or exercise, your weight is down by this. It is not the goal in itself. It just basically tells you how you're progressing. So do not fixate on mock scores. Do not feel that, okay, do not feel dejected if the mock scores are bad. They just tell you they are a snapshot of your current level of progress. So basically just keep making sure that you are getting regular feedback, and whatever happens in the mock, make sure that you go and analyze the mock, whether you did well in it or whether you did poorly in it. The important part of a mock is the analysis of mock. So between one mock and another, so you take the one mock in June and one mock in May, between one mock and another, the improvement that you can do, the targeted focused improvement that you can do, is what will actually make a difference to your overall CAT score as such. It's not the individual mock scores, whether you got 60 percentile in this or you got 80 percentile in this. It is not the percentile that matters really, but the fact that you focused on, when I got 60 percentile, you went and actually checked which questions did I get wrong. In quant, I got these geometry questions wrong. So I then went and checked the underlying concept of it again. I went and solved some concept questions from that particular concept again. So I make sure that I don't get those questions wrong again. So basically the improvement between mocks is also important, and if you don't take mocks, you do not really improve. You don't know what you have, what you don't know. There are like big blind spots in your preparation which suddenly get exposed in October, and then there isn't enough time to actually address those areas. So please try to stick to the mock schedule, and every mock, make sure that you take the mock test, you analyze the mock test, and whatever weaknesses or issues that you find out, you address them by improving in those particular this cycle of mock test plus analysis plus improvement, then again mock test, then analysis plus improvement is extremely important. That is basically how you improve, how you rise up. Otherwise, you can start off with 90 percentile from the first mock, but if you don't analyze those mocks, you'll stay at 90 percentile. So you don't want that. You want to go from 90 percentile to 94 percentile to 98 percentile to 99 percentile to 99.5 percentile plus an actual CAT exam. So all of this is essentially doesn't matter where you start, but it matters how much effort you put it consistently to move forward. So even if you start with 60 percentile, it doesn't matter. From 60 percentile, try to focus on becoming 70 percentile, 70 to 80 percentile. Each mock, move forward. Analyze what went wrong, improve in those areas, move forward. That's all that you should really aim for. So now that you understand how to use the particular course, I wish you the best of luck, and I would request all of you to please sincerely put in 2 hours every single day, and every weekend please take the mock as scheduled. If there is no mock schedule, if there is a gap week between the mocks, please take previous year's papers. Every single day, if you put in consistent effort, I'm absolutely sure that you're going to completely crack CAT. CAT is not a test of aptitude. A lot of people have this misconception. It is a test of skill, and skill gets better with practice. If you're an artisan, the 1,000 hours you spend in like carving or drawing or sculpting are going to show in the work that you do. So similarly, in CAT, it is a matter of skill. How many questions you solve, how many thousands of questions you solve are going to eventually show in your CAT exam attempt. So make sure that you focus and hone your skill over the next few months before CAT. Okay. So please keep practicing every single day. Thank you for tuning in.